Hello. Today I would like to talk to you about my Caustic Arrow Occultist build. The reason I created this build is because as 322 is coming closer, I wanted to make a build that could easily do T16 Alc-and-Go maps, as I believe this is one of the best methods of making currency for the average person in the first few weeks of a league. And since I believe Caustic Arrow is one of the best skills to use, as it has insane coverage when supported by Arrow Nova, and has easily achievable high base damage through level scaling, I believe this build is one of the smoothest characters in a league launch scenario. Now, while the character that I will show is a more min-maxed version of the build, this amount of damage and survivability is not needed in league launch scenarios, especially if you're just looking to, like I said, do Alc-and-Go T16 maps, which I believe can easily be done on a 10 divine or less budget. The only items that would be semi-expensive to make would be the bow, in which we are scaling as many levels as possible. And while my bow is a synthesis bow, this is only giving +1 levels, so it is not needed, as currently my Caustic Arrow is level 33, which is overkill, as it is very important going from levels 20 to 30 on Caustic Arrow, since the damage scaling is very large through these level brackets, but slows down substantially after the level 30 mark. So dropping this to a level 32 with a non-synthesis bow won't weaken the build too much. And also, I am running an Empower 5, which again is overkill. So just running a Empower 3 will get this to a 30 Caustic Arrow. Now when crafting this bow, it's actually fairly cheap to get the +1 level of strength and dex on the item, as it will take on average 8 of the fossils on screen to get one of these rolls. And then once you have isolated these two suffixes, you can craft on cannot roll attack mods and slam, which will guarantee a +1 level of socketed gems, and then meta mod for the last two rolls. So all in all, a non-synthesized bow of this craft would cost roughly 5 to 8 divines, but since the rest of your gear is extremely cheap, this allocation of resources is worth it, even on a low budget. Now for the rest of the gear, I'm basically just capping off resistances and getting life regen, since this build does not have any leech and any attributes that you may want on the build. Outside of this, there are some mods that give you damage, like on rings, you can either get damage over time multiplier or chaos damage with essence rolls, or you can get some eldritch implicit chaos damage, along with again some life regen resistances. And obviously you won't be running a Mageblood on the 10 divine budget, but since this build is specifically for T16 mapping, all your flasks will be up 100% of the time anyway, so the only thing you'll be losing is the effect on the flasks. Now, in the description, I will give a high budget version, which I'm running, and a low budget version, which is the roughly 10 divine budget. And as you will see, the 10 divine budget at peak DPS is doing roughly 3 million DPS, while the expensive version, which is my character, only does 5 million DPS in comparison. So at 30 times less cost, you are still getting 60% of the damage. And even though this DPS is fairly low compared to other builds, again, this does not matter, since this build is specifically for Alc-and-Go T16 mapping. So, that's my quick guide on my Caustic Arrow build. If you have any comments and questions, put them in the comments, and I'll get to them. Thanks.